There's nothing wrong with that. But if a bird gets in that overnight and makes a mess on it because you didn't roll the windows up, we're not having the mechanics clean the bus. We're not having Matthew or Matt clean the bus. That's on you. Okay?
We appreciate that.
Please keep your bus clean at all times. When I'm done with a route, when I'm walking it looking for kids, I pick up the big trash and throw it in the trash. And then once or twice a week, I sweep it out. Wednesdays is a great time to do that right now. And if it gets messy on Friday, then you do it on Friday. Whatever the case may be, but you do need to make sure you keep your buses clean. We're going to get everybody, and I don't know how it's going to work. We're going to try and get everybody those, they look like milk carton type totes, and we're going to Velcro them onto your doghouse so that they can be easily removed if mechanics need to do work on your engines. And all those maps and masks and everything that are on the dash, they can be put down into those crates. So they're still within reach of you guys, but they're not laying across your dash. Does that make sense? So we're going to try hopefully today, probably not going to happen today, but we'll get those today and start installing those over the next couple of days. Any concerns on the mechanic side with that if we just Velcro them down so they're easily removed? That's what I was thinking. Okay.
Not everybody's
Yeah. Make sure you're walking your bus when you're done with your route. That sheet or the sign that goes in your back window, if I see you out on the road with that sign in your window, I know you did not walk your bus to get started. So please make sure you're pulling those out. Walk the bus, make sure you're ready to go in the morning, pull that sign out. When you walk up front, I either stick it above the emergency door in that little padded area right there, or I stick it behind me in the cubby holes, in the little pockets. But it should not be in that window if your bus is in motion, if you're on route. And then make sure you're getting put back in that window when you're done with route so we know when we walk the lot that they've all been checked. And then if you need your video pulled, there's the sheets on those are in the break room. Fill one out and we'll get to that as quickly as we can. We can all do it, but Matthew and Chris are typically the ones that will take care of that for us. So just fill one out, let us know why, give us an idea of when, so we have a better idea to go with that. Anything you want to add to that?
Anybody have any questions?
Okay. Some of the common things we've seen in the last couple weeks: not using your turn signal when you're clear, shutting that door and turning your left signal on, prolonged conversations on the radio, we've had a few of those, not leaving the lot at the correct time. In the morning, you cannot be at Mays South Middle or Mays Middle any earlier than 7:05. If you're getting in before that, you need to move your start time and make it so that you're coming in later. I had a principal at Mays South Middle contact me this week and said that at 10 till 7, the staff could not even park in that staff parking because the buses were lined up there and they couldn't get in. And we shouldn't be there that early. So please make sure you're not getting there any earlier than 7:05. The only exceptions for those are our sped routes because they pull up and around and they're typically gone by that point. South Campus, Mays South, Middle Mays South High, you will not leave this lot any earlier than 2:10 in the afternoons unless you're running a shuttle. The only exception is those first 4 buses in the very front of the lineup after the sped buses. Those 4 buses can leave just a couple minutes earlier so that we're not causing the congestion down Silver Fox Lane, I think it is, the access road. Okay, so those first 4 buses can go just a few minutes earlier because they go around the corner and get lined up. We can actually see those 4 buses when the rest of us are pulling in, but everybody else has to wait until 2:10. My suggestion, find the buses in front of you and follow them out of the lot. I don't know why we're getting caught up over there anyway. Any comments on that one so far? Okay, and then the other school, Mays Middle and Mays High is 2:15. Again, those first 4 buses can leave just a couple minutes earlier than that. Yes, Scott?
Pulling out of VES and MES, are we still supposed to go east on Academy rather than west?
That's correct.
Some are not.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Mays Central is going back to parents being in the back of the school and giving us our bus lanes back. So hopefully Mays Central isn't causing all of this out here. It's all 4 of them on one road exactly. But hopefully getting those parents off of Academy will allow the other 3 to be able to come in from either direction and kind of thin that out a little bit.
The way that Mays South does it, they figured out how to do it, and it's working pretty well. And
Yeah.
with where we're working, Mays Central could almost do that.
Yeah. And the only downside is the traffic.
Yeah.
that it's causing here because they can only come from one direction. Yeah, because Mace Central is doing a great job too.
When is Frank Washington started letting us line up 2 at a time? That's crazy. There's no
Yes.
reason the other schools lining up 2.
Yeah. I have an email out to them to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
So it just, I'm working on that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then they might have answered it already. On my Monday, Thursday routes, picking up the elementary kids to the sixth tier. It's mandatory, we have to come in on the Mace side, through Silver Fox.
Not anymore.
Okay.
No.
Because I'm running late, a little late, but if I'm allowed, because everything's on my east side.
Yes.
If I'm allowed to come in through Tyler, I can make it on time, but I have to come all the way around to get
Right.
to Silver Fox.
You don't have to come in off of Maze. We highly suggest it because
Yeah.
they're moving traffic out of the way off of Maze.
Yeah.
We have got to be more careful on passing our vehicle. We're gonna cover that here in a minute because you would not believe the phone calls and the pictures I've seen and the horror stories I've heard about buses flying by everybody. We're gonna cover that in a minute. But you're right, yes, you can come in from the other way, just be really careful if you do watch for that traffic.
Okay, thank you.
Huh? Oh, hey, are you talking? Matt? Remember, the bus lot speed limit is 15 mile an hour, they'll be flying through the lot. Headlights are to be on when you're driving. Strobe lights are okay to use, just be considerate when it's dark. It can blind some. Driving, make sure you drive in the right-hand lane on the 4-lane streets unless you're within a mile of the left-hand turn. And then you can move to the left, but we always try and stay in that right-hand lane. Line up right to left and leave left to right for AM and moving to second school and PM. Okay, so we had some confusion on this yesterday, so, and I don't know what happened, but when you pull into a school, I don't know if you guys can see this, this is what it looks like. You guys should all be staggered. If you are next to the curb, you're typically the first one in. The one on your left comes in after you. So you come in, and the one to your left will pull forward of you just enough so that their door, when it opens, is right in front of your bus. That keeps the kids from walking into the bus right next to them, okay? So we stagger the buses. So for our new folks that haven't got that yet, I'm so sorry that we didn't cover that with you, but make sure we're staggering. Your door, if you're on the left, should open into the door, should open in the opening between the two buses on your right. And we always come in right to left. So right parks first, along the curb parks first, and then the one on the outside of the curb outside, okay? And then when we leave, the one on the left pulls out first, followed by the one on the right. Any questions on that? Okay. Talked about staggering. Okay, and then this is just in the books, talks about the discipline, including termination. So let's talk about Academy for a minute. Because we all have to deal with Academy. So if this is 119th, run in this direction. They have cars parked all the way from 119th to the schools. Sometimes I've seen them clear down to our building on 119th. It's got backup so bad. We are not above the law. We have to follow the law, which means we can't be just flying around all these cars on Academy. You do not have the right of way. You have to stay in the right-hand lane to drive. If you need to go around a vehicle or something that's farther out, like this little guy here, if he's parked out in the driving lane, you have to come to a stop, turn your signal on, unless it's clear. Turn your left signal on like we learned in high school. You go around that vehicle and you come back over. We can't just plow down the oncoming traffic road. It's illegal, we can't do it. So as long as this road's clear, we can stay there. I talked to Mays PD yesterday. We are not above the law. Please do not do this. Don't be just driving down the oncoming lane. We can't do that. That's totally against the law. If you're having issues getting down the Academy from 119, come in Mays. They're pulling completely over. There's tons of room to come in from Mays. Any questions on that?
They should have made Academy a 4-lane, not a 2-lane.
They shouldn't have put 4 schools on Academy.
That too.
Oh, who thought of that?
That weren't.
Well,
Any-
I think Bay Central used to be a high school, or the other one used to be a middle school, and Mays was much smaller back
Yes,
then.
that's when everything was right there. You're right.
Yes.
And we've grown since then. So maybe someday they'll move them farther apart. But for now, we have to deal with all that traffic. So if you have a head-on collision with another vehicle, again, I will fight for you left and right wherever I can. That's an illegal move and that can't be done. I can't help you with that. You're on your own with the Mays PD. And if you take a life for that, then then it's definitely on you.
We can't, like you said, we can turn our turn signal on and do it, go around them?
Yep.
I mean,
Because it's a dotted road, we can pass.
okay, because I know when I go, they're on both sides and there's,
Yeah.
A single, I have been told that Mays PD has asked them to move farther off of the roadways so that they're not where you can only drive down the middle of the road. I have been told that they've been moving those, some of them are parked next to road signs and they can't get off the road. They shouldn't be parking there to begin with, but they are. And so they do hang out into the road, they just can't get off. So those you do have to go around.
to go into Prairie Woodman, they're going in that exit from both ways. They're lined
Right.
up on
Both sides.
both sides.
Right,
And there's no, and I mean, I do what you said, I turn my turn signal on and wait, and then I go around,
Right.
because there's usually like 3 cars that I have to, but they don't pull over, they're blocking going towards 119th, is there, you can't go down that.
well, as long as you're watching oncoming traffic and you use your signal to turn, move over, then you're fine. You can do that. That's legal. We just can't drive 119th all the way to Prairie Woodman in an oncoming lane. That's what we can't do. Sorry if I didn't make that more clear. Any questions so far? Any questions with anything? Because that's really all I had, unless there's something you can think of that we didn't get covered. Anything else? Is that a sign? You're just itching your ear? Okay.
It's an itchy ear.
Did you
A
have
couple things on,
Yeah.
back on your fluids. If you drive a diesel, which most of them are, try to keep your tanks above half. It helps keep the moisture out of the tank.
Especially in the winter.
Yeah, especially in the winter. Condensation, it's an enemy of a diesel. And then when you're doing your fluid checks, most people think, well, make sure it's not low. But on your oil, if it's above full, there's a problem. There's fluid getting in there that shouldn't. Yeah, the training fluid too, the cooler's built into the radiator, so, but yeah.
He said to not only watch that it's not low, but also that it's not over full. Sorry, they didn't hear you.
If it's overfull, that means a lot of times diesel's mixing with the oil, and that's a bad thing. And then on the coolant, like you said, on the coolant, the coolant and the transmission fluid, like you said on the cooler, it's one cooler for both, built into the radiator. So if there's coolant, if the transmission fluid is overfilled, that means coolant's getting into it, or vice versa.
Yeah, it'll get a milky color if that's happening, so.
Well, then you also you'll get diesel in your coolant on those cats.
Yeah. Where that.
Whoever has a cat, they'll get diesel in
Oh, man.
their antifreeze because it's leaking through the,
Yeah.
Too much information.
So, and that's always been another thing that, and we forgot to cover that yesterday. It's in the handbook as well somewhere. I know somewhere I read it. You're supposed to keep your tanks at least half. Not only for that, but if you get caught ways out and you break down, we don't want you running out of fuel, especially if it's cold before we get to you. So always make sure your tanks are at least at half. Don't let them go below half.
I have another thing to add too.
Yeah.
Make sure you're checking your front hubs on the big buses. They have clear sight glass on the side, and it's, where your wheel mounts on. And there's a little line that says full on it. It's like around the plug. And if that oil is not full, if the hub's not full of oil, then it will destroy all the bearings and seals and everything.
Were you guys able to hear him over there?
There's a
Make sure you're checking your hub oil on the around the, usually, some of them are nasty and greasy, you just gotta wipe them off with a rag or something. We're just checking to make sure that fluid is at the fill line, or the full line.
There was a couple last year I found that were completely dry, no oil in them. One of them even had rust in it, so.
Oh, wow. Okay. Anything else you guys can think of?
You hear,
Most of this requires something to go gasoline.
kind of low.
For your yes, yep. Your coolant will be on that front panel, you'll drop that, and then your power steering fluid is typically on over there by the steering wheel. You'll open that far right panel for your power steering fluid. Coolant is in the middle. I did find your
Oh,
washer fluid on most of the big full-size buses is on the right side underneath. You can see it without crawling under it. Mini or mid-size buses, yours is on the left, and I didn't know that till this morning. I went out and
Some
looked
of
at
them are
beds.
on the right too for the minis.
Some of them are, but it's always on the front. You'll find it tucked up under the,
I think they're all
you'll be able to
right.
see it through the holes. But yeah, the rest of it you'll check under the, into the doghouse. The transmission fluid and your oil will be in the engine compartment. Yes.
The transmission fluid needs to be checked with the bus running and park, or neutral.
Does it not have a cool line? It's,
It has a cold and a hot, but well, if you just started it, it's gonna be about the cold line.
yeah.
So
Okay.
there should be no.
So we need to bring it up operating temperature before we check the transmission?
You don't necessarily have to, but it's.
So you wanna check it while it's running.
Check it when
But
you're
the
running.
oil needs to be checked when it's off.
Cold.
Correct.
Yep.
Training on, oil off.
If I can remember that.
And it's easy to remember because your transmission fluid cap is red. That's how I train everybody on our new trainers doing it. Your transmission fluid cap is red.